Right, hello lads and lasses, and welcome back to Boys Down Under, where today we are talking about outages. We are talking about VAR, and specifically VAR after John Beaton somehow lost his eyesight for a solid 90 minutes on the weekend. Before we go any further though, if you guys are enjoying the content and you want to help support the channel, the very best way to do so is to click that like button and click that subscribe button. But without further ado, let's get into it. So now, as you can see by the thumbnail, the two players we're talking about who will probably miss our clash against RB Leipzig are Cameron Carter-Vickers and Liel Abada. Now, let's start with the latter. Now, it is that time of year again, Yom Kippur, the holiest day in Judaism. Now, it begins on the evening of the 4th of October and lasts until the evening of the 5th. Now, as we know, on the 5th, that night, Celtic play RB Leipzig in Germany. So it is understood that Abada will be given the final decision on the matter, whether he is going to play or not. And that is, of course, the right thing to do. Now, he hasn't made a decision yet. However, for those unaware, Yom Kippur involves a 25-hour fasting period. So with that, if he were to play, he would be playing on an empty stomach without having any meals for the previous 25 hours. So essentially, he is pretty much playing completely fatigued, because if you don't have energy, how are you meant to do things? Now, for me, I believe Liel is probably our second best winger at the club behind Jota, and it would be an absolutely massive blow if we were to miss him on Wednesday night. I believe he deserves to start against Leipzig, if he was fully fit and ready to go. Now, we do know Haksabanovic can put a shift in. He did put a great shift in against Shakhtar. And also, Dyson Maida showed very positive signs against Motherwell early on, although they sort of faded out as the rest of the game went on. But still, Liel is the man for me. He's got flair. He plays positive football, always looking to go forward. And he really links up with Juranovic nicely down the right flank. And I think that's the main thing. Whenever you see Dyson Maida there or Haksabanovic on the right-hand side, they just don't link up with Juranovic as Liel does. I feel they've got a lot better chemistry together than a lot of other combinations now. So whether Liel is going to play or not, obviously that decision lies with him. I don't expect him to. I don't think anyone should expect him to. Religious reasons are a religion is obviously very, very important to Liel, so don't expect him to play. He will be sorely missed, but we have got depth in the squad to cover for him, which is the main thing. Now, of course, the second concern is regarding Cameron Carter-Vickers' availability. So, speaking to The Sun, after the Motherwell game, Ange Postecoglou, who was very coy about his availability, said, "Cameron got some treatment again and will get some on Sunday. We will see how he is on Monday and Tuesday and make a decision. He's not far away, but we have another 12 games in 40-odd days. So I'm not going to put him in unless he is absolutely right, because it would be silly of us to put him in and then lose him for another few games." So it looks bleak. Awfully, awfully bleak. Now, even with the glimmer of hope that he may be able to play, it looks like Ange will err on the side of caution for this match, which is disappointing, because 3 points here would pretty much solidify Celtic's spot in the Europa League. In the third place, sorry. So not in the Europa League, but you know what I mean. The third place spot, which would drop down to the Europa League. If we got 3 points here, we'd go 4 points clear of Leipzig. Obviously we have the return leg in Scotland, but 4 points over Leipzig with 3 games to go is a very, very, very manageable point differential that we can take to have European football after the World Cup and after Christmas. But heading into this match, it does appear likely that Jens and Welsh will be our centre-back pairing, and I have to hand it to them. Credit where credit is due. They did improve a lot against Motherwell. If you're asking me who I think would be the best suited to handle Timo Werner, of course it would be CCV. But, that it doesn't mean that Jens and Welsh can't put in a shift. We do have to look, if we look back now, it is a bit of a stretch, but if we look back to last year against AZ Alkmaar in qualifying matches, Welsh was pretty much him and, I can't remember who his other pairing was. It was Welsh and someone. But they started at centre back and he put in a real shift. Him and Ralston pretty much saved the day on multiple occasions for Celtic against Alkmaar and was a key reason to why we qualified for the Europa League. So hats off to Welsh if he can put in another very good European performance. Jens, hopefully he does his job as well. And fingers crossed. So CCV and Leo Labada both appear to be out. Looks like Starfelt will be out as well. So 3 pretty crucial misses for this clash. No real word on Giacomakis, but it is believed he will be fit and ready to go for this match, whether he's needed off the bench or to start the match. Good. We need a bit of striker depth, I do believe, especially if Leo Labada is out, because then we don't have a backup striker, and I'm not playing Tyson Maida through the middle. So, GG, welcome back if you are playing. Now into the second half of the video. VAR. If VAR was a thing, Celtic would have won 3-1 against Motherwell because Josip Juranovic does not miss from the penalty spot, and John Beaton clearly had an invisible blindfold on for the whole match. Because Celtic were denied an absolute stonewall penalty, and while it didn't affect the outcome of the match, it was still a very big talking point from it. Now, overnight in Scotland, overnight here in Australia, obviously throughout the day in Scotland, some radio or podcast called Get Involved Referee revealed that testing was done, and VAR, while it was thought it would be introduced in the latter half of the season after the World Cup, it is believed it could be introduced as early as this October, the October we are in right now. So a lot of and we're going to enter a funny period when VAR is introduced. You know, VAR, it will certainly improve a lot of things. A lot of offside calls will be right and whatnot. However, a lot of decisions from VAR are made under the ref's discretion and interpretation of the rules. So if the interpretation and the discretion differ from ref to ref, there's going to be a lot of inconsistencies in the league and in the upcoming games. You know, we saw in England when that was first introduced, the first 4 or 5 months, very inconsistent. A lot of people were calling for it to be scrapped. Now we get to now in England, it's a lot better. It's a lot more streamlined, although mistakes are made here and there, but there's just less controversy. But if there was controversy in England, there's going to be a lot of controversy here in Scotland. I do think so for myself. Now, I hope for the sake of the league, I really hope VAR doesn't have any inconsistencies and whatnot, but of course it will. We all know it's going to, but I really do hope it gets past that very quickly, because it's not good for the league if it does. You know, and a lot of money has gone into this. A lot of money from clubs, the lower tier clubs in the Scottish Premiership, who can't afford, they can afford, but it really does take a toll on their club's finances, having to fund VAR, getting cameras in, technology in, stuff like that. So, look, at the end of the day, I'm sure this introduction of VAR, it will lead to more good than bad. If we introduce it sooner, obviously that means it will be better sooner as well. We don't have to wait till after Christmas. And look, at the end of the day, I do think there'll be a lot of dodgy decisions with it, probably up until the World Cup. But that's just the way it goes, you know. Everyone thought it was going to be Mr. Be-all. Everyone thought it was going to be the Mr. Fix-It when it was first introduced in around the world, but it hasn't. It wasn't, but it has led to a lot more calls being made right than wrong, in my eyes. So, exciting times ahead, but also what may be a few rocky months ahead as well. We'll have to wait and see. It's going to be interesting. But that is all from me. So if you guys did enjoy the video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, leave in the comments below your thoughts on VAR being introduced into Scotland early, and also on Leo Labada and the Cameron Carter-Vickers situations. But until next time, hail, hail.